Hey, this is Scott Photography Bonsai. Today we're going to look at the Sony RX100 version 3. Thanks to Cameracraft in Rockford, Illinois for letting me try this out at their shop. This is a used camera. It is interesting to see how it holds up, but it's fully functional. If you're unfamiliar with this line of camera, the two most important aspects are the size, it's basically pocketable, and also the sensor inside. Is a 1-inch sensor. Compared to entry-level cameras, the 1-inch sensor is quite a bit bigger than the 1/2.3-inch sensor. The names are super confusing. I don't get why they call them these things, but you can see in a graphic it's a little bit over 4 times the area of that sensor. There are 6 versions of the RX100. Version 1, of course, is still sold new all the way up to the recent versions. This is version 3, so it's about in the middle of things, but there are 2 versions of 5. You have a V and a VA. I don't know if they still sell the V, they're probably done with that, but you can still buy it used. With version 3, there are some changes from the previous versions that you do benefit from. It does have a Bionz X processor. I guess it's probably better than previous versions. 80 ISO minimum for version 3 and onward. Also, it has the 24-70 equivalent lens with f1.8 to f2.8 throughout that zoom. A few other interesting or key features of this camera: it does have a built-in ND filter. It's 3 stops that allows you to more easily use larger apertures in bright conditions or potentially have longer exposures. 1/2000th of a second shutter speed that is also factored in with the ND filter. It helps out in that situation. 1080p 60 frames a second video recording. Compared to other versions of this camera, it does improve quite a bit. It's up to 4K video in the recent versions of this camera, so not the best video wise. Estimated 320 photos per charge. That's one of the better of this line of camera. In general, you probably want at least a second battery. It can shoot RAW plus JPEG. This is really one of the key features. If you like to use RAW photos, you can pull out a little bit more detail or pull out some more information in general with a RAW photo. So that's a really great benefit to have that feature. A lot of the cheaper entry-level cameras can't do that. This camera does have contrast detect autofocus. It's really not ideal, especially with more recent cameras in this line. The 5 and the 6 do have phase detection on the sensor for focus. This camera does have a electronic viewfinder. It's lower resolution than more recent models, but it seems pretty nice, pretty clear, pretty bright. It is very small. Does have a screen that tilts forward towards the user. It goes upward. Not ideal for that type of screen, but it is nice to have that selfie feature in there, especially with a camera like this. When you do put the screen forward towards the lens and you're in photo mode, you basically get a countdown with that automatically. It's pretty convenient for those selfie type photos. Of course, with vlogging, this camera is relatively decent. You don't have any type of mic input. You can record audio separately, and of course with the contrast detect autofocus, maybe it's not ideal. I'm sure there are a lot of videos out there that can give you examples for that specific use case. If you're pretty well versed in photography, you tend to like a lot of manual control, a lot of settings to adjust to your liking or specific situations. This line of camera does offer a lot of those options, full manual control. You can also adjust things with the nice dial on the front of the camera. So if you want to change your aperture, you've got that dial right there by the lens. Handling isn't bad for a small camera like this. There is a nice little textured grip on the camera, helps you keep a good hold of it. Battery and memory card are down on the bottom of the camera. That's not ideal, but it does work alright. It does have a tripod socket, however it's not in line with the lens. With cameras like this, you have a lot of versatility and a compact package, a lot of control. So you are paying a premium for that. You are getting the larger sensor. However, if you compare cameras like the Canon EOS M100 that I have, it has an APS-C size sensor, so about 3 times the size of the 1-inch sensor. Overall, you probably can't go wrong with any of the RX100 cameras, but considering price, let's look a little bit at the used prices on KEH, which is a website in the United States that sells used cameras. So version 1 of the RX100, $272 for the EX quality level, and then it jumps up to $506 for this version 3. That's a pretty significant jump for what it gives you based on, do you need the viewfinder? You probably want to go with the version 3. course, you can jump up to an even more recent version. So version 5, $678 used. I personally would probably go with a version 5 or a version 1 if I wanted that specific camera. Now, there are a lot of other options. Like I mentioned, the Canon EOS M100, it is quite a bit larger, but gives you a lot of options with the APS-C sensor. If I was going to buy a new RX100 camera, I would probably go with the VA or 5A version. It has the hybrid autofocus with the phase detect sensor. Version 3 seems just fine. If you find a really good deal on it, might as well check it out, but there are so many other options out there. So that was the RX100 version 3. Hope you found this video interesting. Again, thanks to Cameracraft for letting me try this out at their shop. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing. Helps me out a lot. Likes and shares help out a lot as well. Thanks again.